I'm out here seeing things at Oak Grove Cemetery in Fall River. Just at the entrance still, and it's quite a nice military section over here. It looks like Civil War. Maybe I should investigate that right away. Let's check that out. Bunch of maintenance people here. Looks like a fairly well-kept cemetery, I gotta say right away. First impressions are good. Let's see what we got here. Beautiful entrance gate, which we're going to see in a minute as well. But let's check this out. This is my first time here. To the memory of those who fought and died for the maintenance of the Union. Sure enough. Erected by Richard Borden. Interesting. So, the Borden family is the big name here. They own the Fall River Iron Works. And we have a bunch of local, some cannons too, of course. They look decorative, but I don't know. Maybe a military person would know if these were actually cannons that were utilized. Maybe they were. Cannons from the Revolutionary War will often have names. They're quite elaborate. These are very practical looking, so maybe they were actual battle cannons. But yeah, interesting. 1846 to 1923, U.S. Navy. So would have been a very young person in the Civil War. I'm expecting to see people born more in the 1830s for Civil War. So, death dates are tough because they didn't necessarily die in the war. Died in 1911, 76 years old, so born, tough one, but cutting it close for sure. Let's see. 1826 plus 11, 27, 1837. Okay, so yeah, that's more feasible to me because they would have been 20 years old in 1857, so early 20s for the Civil War. It's been a while actually since I've looked up Civil War. I always thought of it as 1859 to 1865, but maybe it didn't begin until 1860. Here we have one who died in 1866. Yeah, it says served in Civil War 1861 to 1865. So maybe it didn't begin until 61. That's what I'm a little confused about, is the starting date of the Civil War. But for sure, this is an interesting, well-kept section. There's another one behind it that's a little less formal. We'll go check that out in a minute. Looks like all the caretakers are leaving. We're moving on anyway. The lunch break is done. It's around noon. 12:30 by now, I suppose. I'm just walking around here with a coffee on kind of an overcast day, which is good because it is supposed to get sunnier. But this is interesting right here, just because it's so clear, so well carved. Eugene Hale Buchanan, Mass. Artificer, 25 battery, field artillery, and hard to read the dates, but okay. So actually, these are not Civil War, right? These are. It's hard to read this, but it just says U.S. Navy. Fourth. Tough to read that one. Fourth something war. Spanish-American War, Charles Montgomery. That must be Spanish-American War. This must all be Spanish-American War vets. Okay, interesting. So yeah, lots of stuff here. We've got, to show you back at where I just came from. You see those cannons again, and then you can see the entrance gate is quite elaborate. And then I noticed a Durfee grave over here. So there's a Durfee High School, which is really big, prominent building in the city. And maybe this is somehow related to the Durfee family. Hard to say. We'll probably run into quite a few Durfees in here. Quite a few Bordens. So as I said, the Bordens owned the Fall River Iron Works. And that's something, fairly early 1800s. And this is all getting interconnected now, This is all an outgrowth of the Industrial Revolution. From Pawtucket. If you want to check out my Pawtucket video, this is someone named Turner. Samuel Slater and the American Industrial Revolution of the 1790s, which, comes about 40 years after the Industrial Revolution from England, Manchester, London. And in fact, it is a case of industrial espionage. Samuel Slater was from William Bradford Durfee. Interesting name, William Bradford is the first governor of Plymouth Colony. And it looks like maybe the Durfees are descendants of the Bradfords. That's possible. I have to look that one up for sure. Definitely worth mentioning in the comments if you want to check out, just Google Wikipedia for William Bradford and maybe look up some of these Durfees of Fall River to see if they have any relation. But just to give you a little overview of the place here, just kind of pan around and get a sense. It's in the midst of a neighborhood high on a hill. Oak Grove Cemetery is the name. And it's pretty nice, I gotta say. I'm liking it. Of course, got the place to myself with the exception of the caretakers. Midweek, that's how it goes. But anyway, Old Fall River Iron Works made a lot of money making nails and just general material for the railroads. And there's a nice blonde squirrel right here. I wonder if I'll catch him. Got quite a blonde color on his tail. Cute. That's when a zoom would come in handy. Eating his little acorn. Little springtime action for the squirrel. Oh, and we've got some labels on these trees. This is a white oak, so it's always a good sign. QR code. I noticed this thing's tough to pick up QR codes. It's a bit blurry, but in any case, some Fall River heritage information there. So I'm literally getting, where'd that squirrel go? Getting sidetracked looking for a squirrel. I'm chasing him around the tree. I don't know how far he went up or what he did. He's totally gone. He just disappeared. Anyway, they're making their money not only from the railroads. I mean, really, this is the building of America, this early industry. Buildings, railroads, and around here, whaling. I mean, certainly building the factories themselves, building the materials for the factories, but also the whaling industry. You're talking about the 1810s, 1820s. This gets into New Bedford, which is about 15 miles east of here. And all of that Moby Dick, Herman Melville folklore pertains to New Bedford. Before the oil industry in America, the petroleum industry, I'm getting attacked by an insect, you had whale oil for lanterns and lubrication for machines. So the early industrial American Revolution is tied to whale oil for sure. Just checking out that standing family plot. So here we have a giant Borden, Jefferson Borden. Nice obelisk here, and a whole Borden plot. So these are Bordens going into the early 20th century. And of course the famous grave is Lizzie Borden, but I don't think it's here. These are later Bordens. These are descendants. So again, Borden of the Fall River Iron Works and whatever subsequent industry they get themselves into. So these are, again, are all seem to be folks who died in the early 20th century. And when it comes to Lizzie Borden and Captain Borden, well, Captain Borden is going to be the oldest. So he's a dude from the 1700s, dying in the 1800s. R. Borden, maybe that's him. I don't know. So one would have to look up the individual Bordens. I'm not sure what Captain Borden's first name is, but he's got himself a giant monument here with a kind of a beautiful Liberty looking character holding some kind of an anchor. Really nice. And in really good shape. So this is a massive Borden family plot over here. And exactly who R is, I don't know. Must be Richard. This large stone here. So that's for the whole... Well, I know it says R. Borden, so that must be for Richard here. Richard Baxter Borden, 1834 to 1906. Ellen Francis, dying in 1927. Charles Newton, 1867 to 37. But I'm noticing over here, for example, Elizabeth Borden. This is not Lizzie Borden. This is just someone in the family with a similar name. So we'll find the famous Lizzie Borden with any luck at some point. But I did see it on the map, and I know that it's sort of like at the far end. And so we're only at the entrance here, seeing these initial Bordens. But for sure, our Borden must be Richard Baxter. Inherited all that wealth of the 19th century from Captain Borden and the Fall River Iron Works. But I don't think, I'm sure there's still Bordens in Fall River. Tulip tree. But it's not an industrial town anymore, as you would guess. It's just a nice coastal town with a lot of Portuguese, big Portuguese community here. I am one such. And when I was a kid, Fall River still had functioning mills, as they would call them. Of course, it moved on a lot to textiles, as all the factories did in this region. But when I was a kid, you would come here to buy clothes, certain things, wallpaper, clothes in the 70s. You'd come here for that for some reason, I guess just because of the cheapness. Here's another, just to show you how many Bordens are dominating this. George Borden, 1822 to 1895. So there's a whole plot here. This must be the ancestors of where we just were with that giant R. Borden statue. But yeah, a beautiful place. Nice gardens. It's not quite Swan Point, but it's not half bad. It's well landscaped. Got some labeled trees. It's well kept. The stones are in reasonably good shape. A bit of lichen on some of them, but not too shabby overall. And really, it's quite on the hill here. They do call it Prospect Street, and it does have a view. Here's a Haffenreffer grave. The Haffenreffers have influence at Brown University for sure. They owned land in Bristol where King Philip's seat was. And this just must be someone in the family. I see Haffenreffer, I see Brown. So who knows exactly. But this is quite an interesting looking section here. hop in here for a bit. Some interesting stones. Smithies. So yeah, they had this Haffenreffer Museum, which is of course being dismantled or moved. It's kind of an anthropological museum, and it was on the land that Brown acquired from the Haffenreffers, I guess. And it's seen now, of course, Brown is a very woke institution, and it's seen as very, hostile to indigenous culture. So they're in the process of ceding that land back to the tribes, I believe, and then moving the museum back to the university proper in Providence, which, let's face it, is also built with slave money. And if they really wanted to purge themselves of all this sin, the whole damn institution would be sunk. There'd be nothing left, because there isn't an inch of ground in that place that wasn't based on the slave trade or the exploitation of Native Americans. Philip Borden, another one. And we've got this interesting granite tree stump that says Cook Borden on top of it. So a whole other Borden section here. And so, the intrigue, of course, with the Bordens is that Lizzie killed her parents, or was tried for the murder of her parents and somehow was acquitted. And we don't really have any equivalent story to that these days. Of where you've got the folks who are essentially the most prominent members of the community getting killed by their child. But it would be like somebody in the Walton family having that happen down in Arkansas. These days, this is an interesting stone, James Marshall. These days, rich people are not so centralized, it's like Elon Musk. Well, where's he really from? And nobody cares or knows. He's Australian, he's South African, he's in America now. What's Elon Musk's town? I don't know. If he had kids who grew up to kill him and Grimes, it would be a story, but would it impact a single town? Not so much as it would just be a national story. More Bordens up here. James Marshall, in loving memory, died in 1916, and his wife. Large stone, lots of detail, Celtic cross, but no information. Thought it might say something here. So I wonder if I will even recognize the Lizzie Borden stone when I come across it. I'm going to have to look for things left behind, because it's not particularly grand or anything. It just says Lizzie from what I've seen. So I guess we're going to find out. I may have already passed it by now. It's definitely possible because we're coming to the edge here. That would suck if I didn't see it, didn't find it. That's a definite possibility. Without my phone or a map, I'll have to pause it, and I prefer to just sort of like come upon these things, to find them through a little bit of kismet. But as it is, I'm coming to the end of this place and I haven't encountered it yet, or I didn't notice it if I did. So we'll see. I think it is like in one of the last sections, so we'll find out. But the graves out here are getting a little more weathered looking, not as well kept, and the grounds are a little scrappier, but not bad by any stretch. It's definitely better kept than some that I've been to. So I also just want to round the corner here so that I'm not facing south so much as the sun is starting to peek out. So in town, there are houses, buildings related to Lizzie Borden. There's a museum. Though I've never been to it. And her house where she lived, where she moved after the trial, is quite large, but it's just sort of private and a little bit refurbished so that it doesn't even look particularly 19th century. Huh. So who knows? This is going to take some hunting now because I am at the edge. And there's so many Bordens in here. Didn't occur to me that that would be a problem, that I would encounter so many Bordens. It would be like trying to find a Borden in a stack of Bordens. The other cool thing about Fall River, used to have steamships called the Old Fall River Line, and today there is a nice maritime museum tied to Battleship Cove. And in the Maritime Museum, which is really poorly visited compared to the Battleship, is really fantastic. If you find yourself in Fall River, go to the Maritime Museum. It's singular. There is they have the interior of steamships from the 19th century. They have all kinds of artifacts from steamships, because the Old Fall River Line, of course, named after Fall River, used to run through here. It's kind of like a steamship route from Boston to New York, stopping in Fall River and Newport, Stonington, Connecticut, and I'm sure a couple other points in Connecticut, probably New Haven, and going back and forth all the time. And it just opens up the world of steamship travel, which was quite dangerous back in the day. A lot of people died long before the Titanic sunk in various steamship disasters. Dozens, hundreds at a time in some cases. And so the Titanic gets all of the attention, and there is even a little section on the Titanic at the Maritime Museum. But it's good to realize how important steamships were. This is also, of course, an outgrowth of the American Industrial Revolution. The steam engine, Corliss steam engine made in Providence, was prominent in those factories. So here we have Emerson Borden. But no, I don't see Lizzie. But again, it would be easy to miss. So yeah, early industry, coal, steam, whale oil, iron, and ultimately steel. Going to lead to steel. So I expect Lizzie's stone to look something like these, or even these over here. Maybe a bit more like this, smaller like this, small and a bit rounded at the top. These are Luthers here. So we'll see. I'm thinking it's over here. My spidey sense is tingling. We're closing in on it. It's one of those things, though, with cemeteries. They don't necessarily promote these things. People find them on their own. It's not like they're going to have a big sign for one particular person, even though it's just like with Lovecraft, there's a lot of prominent people in Swan Point. And it just depends on your definitions and your interests. So even though the majority of the general public is going there to see Lovecraft, there's a lot of prominent folks there. Okay, some more Bordens over here. I'm gonna leave them unturned. Doesn't look like it though, but let's just see. No. Arthur, Florence, Gertie. If you know your Borden history, I'm sure some of these are ringing a bell or to someone you know, someone you've heard of. That's another one of those things, though, you know, where it's like, these are tragedies, you know, and if enough time goes by, they just become folkloric and almost silly in a way. You know, the Titanic has been sunk for over 100 years, and you know, you're free to make movies about it and invent characters, and it takes time for that. It's, you know, although they did come out with movies of 9/11, it's still fairly taboo to be like making jokes about that or taking too much liberty with it when things are still within living memory. I don't care what it is. You know, the Kennedy assassination was always sort of taboo when I was growing up. Of course, today it's just sort of the mother of all conspiracies, and it's also it's more than 50 years in the past. This is a bit rocky over here. So over time, these things just become almost like public domain. But, you know, there's nothing entertaining about a child killing their parents. It's horrific. And it does happen today too, of course. And those things do become tourist attractions, for lack of a better word. And the more prominent the family, the bigger. More Bordens up here. There's a bee in the corner for this particular Borden family plot. Let's see if she's in here. Doesn't look like it. Some Smiths. Nope. Nope, didn't see her there. This is actually a pretty big cemetery. I thought I was at the end of it, but I was actually just at the end of that section. So yeah, I feel my odds are getting slimmer that I'm gonna find her. It's taken this long and it hasn't happened. Oh well, it's still a great cemetery. There's a really nice ridge over here, stone wall, and some kind of a shed in the corner. Stone building, stone shed, but maybe I'll catch that on the way back. I'm here, I'm gonna do this. So there's an interesting Lizzie stone here. It's not Lizzie Borden, right? But look at this one here. So Lizzie must have just been a popular way to refer to anybody named Elizabeth. Back then, maybe she depopularized it because I don't know of any popular Lizzies. Maybe there are. Maybe you can remind me in the comments if there are any Lizzies that are well known. Here's some free loves. I've run into free loves in North Burial Ground before. So yeah, this little channel that I'm running here is in danger of becoming a cemetery channel. Just because I think people like that more than just my generic walking. But for me, it's, you know, it's what I'm just doing what I want to do here. And if I want to do something other than the cemetery, I'm going to. And it's more about history and exploration, psychogeography, getting a sense of how things changed over time, this kind of historic time travel aspect. So if I brought my phone, I'd get quick access to their website for visitor information, maybe some help in my quest. But as it is, as usual, I'm half prepared here. But that for me is part of it, you know. That's what it is with travel. You want to have some sense of adventure. And if you over prep, you know, if I knew exactly where she was, I would have gone to it and missed different things. I'm taking a circuitous, serendipitous route here. And if I don't find her, I'll do it at the end, you know, just because I'm probably not coming back here with the camera. So I'll get a shot of it for sure, but if I don't find it naturally. But yeah, you know, it affects your outcome. It affects your walk, and I want to have a walk that's a little more spontaneous, whether I'm doing it in a cemetery or in a city. I may have certain goals in mind. I may meet them, I may not. That's part of just the nature of the exploration. So, if you're into that stuff, you know, I would encourage you to search for psychogeography on YouTube. There's a lot of great people who talk about that topic and who make walking videos. My favorite is John Rogers, at least my current favorite. Will Self does some. But John is a good starting point because he'll connect you to other people, or, you know, he has sometimes interviews and walks. Ian Sinclair, he does a lot of interviews with him. He's an author, just like Will Self is. And for that matter, just like John Rogers is becoming an author. He's got a few books under his name by now. But these are all getting too new for Lizzie to be out here. So yeah, it looks like I missed it. Okay, well, that's all right. Well, we're swinging back. Maybe we'll catch it on the way back. But yeah, so it's fascinating, and all these folks that I just mentioned, they're all operating out of England. And that's the thing of it too with my channel is I'm getting ready to travel this summer, and I hope to have content from Dublin and London and Edinburgh and Aberdeen and Berlin and Hamburg and who knows where else. So I'll hit cemeteries out there for sure. I noticed there's several that I've been to already that I'm going to return to. I never filmed them before, so I'll be doing that for sure. It's a nice little section. Definitely at the edge though. A lot of 20th century graves out here. Bit of wind. So yeah, you know, you gotta enjoy whatever it is you're doing in life. That's your prime motivator, and you sharing it, others will find interest. And if you don't get 1 million subscribers, that's okay. You know, this is esoteric stuff, I would say. I'm interested. Some others are interested, but it's not Justin Bieber level, you know, and I don't care. Taylor Swift, whatever it is, this is not, you can't measure yourself against these phenomenons. You just got to have your little corner of the world and be happy with it. And part of the reason I just do voice. I don't want to become a visually known person. I like my anonymity. I am visually known to some degree in reality, but not that much. And you know, if I'm constantly putting my image out there, and I don't want that. Because I don't know about you, but I mean, I do watch some YouTube channels, and it would be fun to meet with those people, but I'm going to respect their privacy. but they're putting themselves out there like public figures, so they become visually known if you see them in the street. Or some of them are doing concerts, tours, speaking tours, whatever it is. And that's fine. You're becoming a Andy Warhol-esque 15 minutes of celebrity, of fame kind of person. I have no interest in that. I just like community, culture. And these days, I think that's getting rare in a way. Like, everybody wants to be an influencer, have their 15 minutes. But I think there's something to be said for this European concept of the right to be forgotten. Of course, that's, after you die. But privacy is important. And I know it's that double-edged sword, the dark side of fame, that a lot of famous people have expressed, that they want to just be able to exist in the world without being hounded by people who have this idea of who they are and want to celebrate their fame with them all the time. It's, they're in the center of that storm, and they constantly have to confront so-and-so loves their work. And it's gratifying, but also, I'm sure, very tiresome. But, a lot of us, just regular folks, we dream of success. But I think, if you can have success and maintain your privacy and your anonymity, that's preferable. So I sort of also came this way because I wanted to check out this, it looks like a tomb, but I think, this is just an old tool shed, for lack of a better word, equipment house. And I wonder now, too, this is the interesting part of, not coming across your target, is, how close did I come to it? That happens in travel, too, you'll miss things. You can easily miss stuff. And be very close. So I may have very well walked through a little Borden family plot, and Lizzie was in there, and I also don't know her parents' name offhand. It doesn't interest me that much. It's just the main topic here at this particular cemetery. C.M. Slade up here on the hill has a very interesting arch, modernist arch, that also looks a bit Egyptian on the top with this kind of repeating tile winged pattern, very unusual. Do I want to walk up this thing? Look at this staircase. Do I want to go around? I guess I'm going up it, even though it's wonky. Maybe because it's wonky. Oh, landscaper up here. Get a closer look at this C.M. Slade. You see what I was talking about with this Egyptian motif up top? Maybe just Art Deco, which was part of the influence of Art Deco, Egyptian, Aztec. Depending on where, if you're out at Hoover Dam, there's a lot of southwestern kind of Native American and Aztec design integrated into Hoover Dam. Look at this beautiful tree here, just budding. What a giant. You can see this little channel here is also forming some kind of a drainage ditch here that I'm walking through. If it gets heavy rains, it probably all scours down here. But yeah, this is already looking familiar to me here. Let's see. Brayton. We have Brayton Point here, so that must be the family related to Brayton Point. How you doing? Good. Yeah, I'm coming back around to the front here. And it looks like I'll be restarting because I didn't find Lizzie unless she's in here. I mean, these are the right dates over here, but I don't think so. These are going to be cousins. And like I said, I know she's more towards the end, so definitely missed her. But that's all right, just kind of come full circle here. Back to this entrance and Civil War section. Nice place. So yeah, I just said hello to someone, just one person I ran into. Not walking a dog, just somebody taking a walk like me, but not with a camera even. Alright, so back again at the front, and I'm going to turn this off and then go find Lizzie. So back again at the Civil War Monument. I thought I'd drive in, but as I looked it up on the map, I could see that it's not very far from the entrance, and I could see why I missed it. I didn't pass by it, so let's try again. Coming in the same way, but it's going to be to the left here. So let's see if we can find it. So part of the reason I got disoriented on that is I came in through the cemetery in a way that was very different than the way I had the map oriented. So we're back at Turner. And it's going to be over here. So I went to the right of that Turner section, but now I'm going to the left, and I expect to find her out here somewhere. So let's see. We'll see how close I did come, in fact. I also like to just kind of show the route, so if people are coming in, they can sort of move in that direction and find it themselves serendipitously. But oh, there's a little blonde squirrel. I'm sort of obsessed with these things here right in front of me. Cute little thing. I don't know why they got blonde squirrels here. I mean, this is very close to Providence, and we don't have blonde squirrels like that. I'm not sure what made them that way here. So yeah, I'm expecting it to be over here somewhere. think I just found it. Okay, so A.J. Borden is this large stone marker up here. And sure enough, there's a bunch of flowers here. So somebody has commemorated her. Let's see what we got here. So folks are going to have to look up. Like I said, I don't know who everybody is. Maybe we'll figure it out on the stone, but here's Lizzie. As I said, you know, she's got like this, somebody left a, whoops, excuse me, a spider there. It says Lizbeth. Spider, lollipops, flowers, fake flowers, real flowers, little bottles of stuff, I don't know what, a hair scrunchie. And I guess her sister Emma has got a few items on there too. Obviously she's got quite a lot of sympathy. But yeah, let's see here. On the stone we have Andrew J., children of Andrew J. and Sarah. So those must be the parents. Alice, Lisbeth, and Emma. So Lizzie is 1860 to 1927. Emma is 1851 to 1927. Obviously they were tight. The older sister, 1856 to 1858. Older, but died in infancy. So Andrew J. and Sarah are the parents, so that answers that question. And that's their stone. And it looks like they're here. And AJB, Andrew J. Borden. So, in spite of it all, the family stays together in death here in this plot. And who knows what the truth is, but who else would have killed them? Hard to say. I don't know that they had so many enemies. But who knows? I certainly wasn't there. This is... What year did those folks die? I'm sorry. Let me see what year this crime took place. Did it say? It doesn't say on that side. Let's see if it mentions it. There we go. Andrew Jackson Borden, 1822 to 1892. His first wife, 1823 to 63, and then Abby Durfee. So that must be the stepmother that she killed, allegedly, in 1892. Okay, it's been a while since I watched that Netflix special with Christina Ricci. They did quite a good job, I thought, on that. It was a decent period piece. So yeah, I didn't come close to it. I totally missed it by not kind of going off in this section. There is an interesting iron fence around a family plot down there. But yeah, I completely missed it. I was about a block away. If we look here, so we've got that obelisk and that R. Borden that I was looking at on the hill. Not far, stone's throw really. And to the left is that arch with the, in the distance, the arch with the kind of Egyptian motifs on it. So yeah, not far from the entrance, not at all. In fact, as I'm coming back here now, we've got this Mason stone, Mason family plot, rather large. And I am behind that Turner mausoleum, which is quite beautiful. The mausoleum is beautiful, and the trees and ground around it are, the landscaping around it is beautiful. We're looking at those trees now from behind. So that is really close to the entrance. Again, here's for reference the large R. Borden family plot with that kind of Liberty statue and that obelisk. Here's the entrance here. And now I'm behind the Turner Memorial Mausoleum with its beautiful landscape. Beautiful trees. I don't know what those are. Some kind of cypress. They look great. So yeah, here's the side of the Turner Mausoleum. And then we're coming up on the back of the Civil War section. So that completes it. So I had to just double back and do a little research. I managed to just go on a different trajectory. But you see, it was quite fine. It was quite nice to go walk through that cemetery with this kind of vague goal in mind and to see a bunch of other stuff. Just to show you the entrance and how that looks, where you can just kind of see out into the neighborhood. Nice little stone gatehouse. So, but I didn't expect to see all this like cool Civil War stuff and all these old stones from Fall River and beautiful landscaping. Nice place overall. Really enjoyed it.